Here's a brief but annoying message to let you know that you could have first heard this episode 9 months ago if you were a subscriber to our Iron Filing Society Patreon offering.
For the price of a pint and a St. Clement's each month, you can get up to 4 episodes a week, 9 months before the rest of the world gets them. Early access to regular episodes, lots of other marvellous benefits, and there's absolutely no adverts or brief but annoying messages like this that'll get right on your tits.
Find out more and subscribe now at tftimemachine.com/ironfilings.
Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go, this is it!
This is Top Flight Time Machine. I am Andy Hotbody Dawson. Pow, pow, pow.
I'm Sam Nifty Delaney, so what?
Welcome along, if you must, to another Melchester Odyssey. We are looking at all issues of Roy the Rovers. If this is your first time, why would it be though? And I have in my left hand the 16th of June 1984 issue of Roy of the Rovers, and all the scenes that you will see. Melchester have just won the FA Cup. It's a special commemorative poster cover which was advertised in the last issue, so as such there's no strapline across the top telling us who might be in the centre pages. You can try and guess anyway if you want, Sam, who might be in the centre pages.
Is there no clue at all?
I'm not going to give you any clues. Guess.
Charlie Nicholas.
Oh, so close.
Yeah?
One more guess. All right, I'll give you another guess. Goalkeeper.
Goalkeeper, same close.
I'm transmitting it to you now,
it the same
psychically,
club,
right?
Or was it the same nationality? Oh.
No, neither.
Oh.
It wasn't close at all when I said so close.
Oh, okay.
I'm
no
transmitting it
close
to you psychically. Goalkeeper.
I'm going to say it's the Peter Hucker.
You almost got it. It was Peter Shilton.
Oh! Schiltz. Yet again confounded by Schiltz.
Peter Shilton, Southampton, looking old there, even though it's 1984. He still had another 6 years to play for England before Italia 90.
Lovely
where,
head
honest,
of curly hair. Bit like sort of slightly afro vibes, wasn't it, his hair?
Yeah. I came across his autobiography the other day in a second-hand shop, and I thought, is this diveable, I wonder? I had a bit of a flick through it, and no, it's really not.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot of dull self-aggrandising in there.
I bet. But sometimes, like I use those kind of memoirs as what I call palate cleansers. So I'll go through a period maybe of reading challenging novels, or like something non-fiction that's a bit political and quite, it's a drag. And then very often
this year's Booker Prize winner, something like that.
Yeah, and then sometimes after one of those, before I move on to my next book, I need something. So I always like to read something before I nod off at night. And I will just go, right, I'm going to get the most fucking superficial, like fucking knocked out, phoned in sportsman memoir I can find.
This could be the one for you.
I quite enjoy, and if they're self-aggrandising and they've got elements of bitterness, if they're basically like the sort of thing that Alan Partridge's book was based on, then I'm there for it, because you do it in like 1 or 2 evenings, and I find them entertaining. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I looked at it and I thought, is this diveable? I thought, well, it hasn't got the effervescence of the Kevin Keegan book.
No, I mean, I found that actually legitimately good, because he'd made an effort, because a lot of them just don't even make an effort to remember anything. That's what bothers me. Keegan had remembered loads of details in really hilarious detail, so to me it was a cut above, right? But some, like a lot of them, I can't remember who I read recently, and it's just like they've just gone, I loved football as a lad. Next thing I knew, I'd been signed to Manchester United's youth team. After a few months there, I got my chance. It felt great walking out Old Trafford for the first time. That turns out I was on the radar of England. Then I retired and became a publican. All the best. PDF invoice attached. And you're like, you haven't even tried. You haven't even looked up your own history, and nor has your ghostwriter. And sometimes I think of the ghostwriter, and I think, imagine how hard it has been for them. Like turning up, Peter, look, we've really got to get this book done. Yeah, it's fine. We'll do the book. We'll get the publisher on my back. We're 6 months late. Fine. Well, we'll do it now. Well, there's huge gaps. For instance, your whole period at Derby County we've not touched upon. Well, what can I tell you? I signed for Derby. I had to take a bit of a pay cut. I can't remember who the manager was. I can't remember when my debut was. But just say it was a good time and I had a connection with the fans.
It's your job to get that out of the Rothmans yearbook.
Yeah, exactly. But I can't.
Surely.
Okay, it says here your debut was against Stoke City in a League Cup game. Do you have any memories of that? No, none whatsoever.
No, not at all. No, they all become a blur.
But you agreed to do the book. You have to give me something, Peter. Well, I would argue, what are you being paid for? But what did you feel like? What did I feel like? I felt like a goalkeeper who was being paid to stop goals going in. Well, if that's a feeling, I don't know if there's a word for it. Maybe the Germans have a fancy word for it. For me, it's just called doing your fucking job. Next question.
I just remembered recently, that Kevin Keegan book. That went to 50 episodes.
Lovely. But because of the detail. The electric mouse, his brain is electric too. Not just his body. His brain is electric. For him to remember all those things about Fred Leatherland, playing with the dead bodies in the fucking Undertakers, the dead mouse.
running to Rotherham or whether it was, back again.
Yeah, the dead mouse that was in an old sofa. The shit that happened in Germany.
Trading meat with his German teammates.
Yeah, buying the light fitting for Laurie McMenemy. That's what we're there for, right?
Exactly.
That's what we're there for. What do they say? The universe in a cup of water. Do you know what I mean? Like, more detail. We want the detail. And sometimes, as far as Top Flight Time Machine is concerned, the more mundane the detail, the better.
I think we could go back into that Keegan book, do it again, and it will be a completely different Odyssey.
Yeah.
It'd be like one of those choose your own adventure things where we go for completely different areas.
Such a great book, but they're not easy to come by, those ones. There are famous ones. Like I read once upon a time, I can't remember if I told you this, but my brothers and I, we bought the rights to Stan Bowles' book, right? It was just called
Brilliant.
Stan the Man. And my brother Cass, being such a big QPR fan, Stan Bowles was a big hero of his, and he got to know him a bit because from hanging about QPR, making himself busy, he got to know Stan Bowles, and we bought the rights off him. And the idea was that I was supposed to write the script, adapting the book, something I'd never done before. I was pretty young. I was just starting in journalism. And my brother Theo was supposed to direct it, but it was a lot of fun just reading the book and trying to turn that into the early stages of script, just like a treatment, really. Yeah. And it was a book that didn't have a big, it had been published in the early 80s. It was years out of print. We managed to get a battered old second-hand copy. But sometimes it's the ones like that are like filled with all the fucking gems, and there's famous ones.
Yeah, of course.
You go into any bookshop and you'll probably see like Steven Gerrard's, Frank Lampard's, Rio Ferdinand's, and most of them I've read. Don't know if I read Gerrard's. I definitely read Ferdinand's. Some of them pretty dull, to be honest. Then I've
got no desire to read any Premier League era players' autobiographies.
Yeah,
because they're all so professional at their game.
Rio
the only twist could be if they've had any kind of like major trauma in their life, i.e. drinking or gambling. Yeah. But then, there's no fun in that.
Well, I tell you probably the best one that I've read in terms of being really human and opening up. And you're probably going to say Tony Adams or Paul Mercer or something. It's Ian Wright's. Ian Wright's book is fucking brilliant. And I tell you why. It's not just the story of a brilliant footballing career by a charismatic bloke. It's a social cultural history, mate. He writes about the experience of growing up, young black man in London in the 70s and 80s, right? And it takes in everything from politics to housing to music to fashion, right?
Yeah.
Drugs, right? So much fucking stuff that you could take the football out of it and it would still be a really compelling book. A lot of it's about youth culture. Like I read Eddie Pillar's book when I had COVID, and that's about youth culture in the same period, really. It was quite interesting. But Ian Wright gives you just as much insight to what it was like being young in London in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
And also, there is a lot of trauma in his life. I mean, he was like, he had a mum and a stepdad who, let's put it this way, not very nice. Right?
Yeah.
And he is really fucking like, and then they're just mad shit. I think he got banged up at one point, which is not that well known, but for like something trivial like parking tickets or something like that, you know.
Right.
He's fucking done the lot, Ian Wright, and I've always loved him anyway. But when you read this book, I tell you what, you love him 10 times more because he lived the life. He lived the life of just a normal bloke. Those were the days where you weren't just spotted at fucking, 3 years old and incubated in a fucking football training compound for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
He'd lived a fucking really like adventurous, up and down, traumatic life and fun life as well in other ways. You know, like, and then suddenly, relatively late, bang, he's playing in the FA Cup final for Palace. Amazing.
I wonder if that's worthy of turning into a script. Feels like it is.
Yeah,
I know he did the documentary about his life. It was a 2-parter, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if I even saw that, but there's loads.
By the rights.
There's loads of stuff in there. I don't think it's diveable for us because although there are funny moments, it's like it's not quite.
They're funny.
I think Stan the Man is diveable. Like Stan Bowles, fuck me. Him and his best mate was Don Shanks. Do you remember a player called Don Shanks from the 70s? That was his best friend. And they both had what can only be described as chronic gambling problems.
Yeah. Well, he used to go into the bookies at 10 to 3, didn't he?
Yeah.
Allegedly.
And he'd do things like he'd come in from a night out with his QPR kit on under a sort of a trench coat with a fag on the go and walk down the tunnel and literally put the fag out just as he was coming out of the tunnel. And you could sometimes see it on the big match. He'd be stubbing something out as he walked out. But like one of the best things they did was they bought an old ambulance which still had a working siren from like a scrapyard, and they would use it to get around London to avoid traffic. If they were trying to get to the dog track for a particular race but they were running late, they'd just whack the siren on and just fucking cut through like bus lanes or wherever they fucking wanted to get over to the dog track. Him and Don Shanks. This is when they were on the big match every week. They were seriously famous. He played for England, and they'd just be fucking going around some battered old ambulance pretending to be the emergency services in order to get to dog tracks on time.
That's always a genius move, buying an old service vehicle for your own ends. Who else did that, remember? Who bought a London taxi and put a blow doll in the passenger seat?
Classic Noel play. Classic bit of Noel play, that. And you know that Noel Edmonds also had a mannequin or a blow-up doll, a sex doll, in the cab with him.
Yeah, in the passenger seat,
which he dressed up and actually gave a personality to trick the press into thinking he had a girlfriend.
Dolores.
Yeah. He was doing it. He claims he did it to toy with the boys from the press.
The boys from the press pack.
Yeah. We had a love-hate sort of relationship. They were really tickled when they realised that Dolores was just a sex doll. The question that was on everyone's lips was, did you ever fuck her? Well, that's for me to know and to take to my grave with me.
Put it this way, she was always fully clothed when she was in the vehicle with me. Most of the time. Let's have a look at this Roy the Rover, shall we? Right. Yeah, so Melchester have won the FA Cup. So it's like a wraparound cover, the front and back page open out into a poster, which, you know, if you want to put that on your wall, then go for it. Thankfully, the person who owned this issue originally hasn't done that. So on the front, we see Roy and Blackie together doing the lap of honour, holding the FA Cup between them, and some fans and whatnot in the crowd. Hooray! Good old Roy! And then someone in a Melchester tracksuit is watching on and says, well done, lads. I don't know who that is. It looks like Vic Guthrie, but it can't be Vic Guthrie. Don't know. And there's even a policeman waving, which is unusual. I thought the police are supposed to be neutral, aren't they? The fucking police can't be.
That's a great question. If we were on TalkSport right now, it would be a great question like, have you ever seen a policeman celebrate or commiserate for a particular team, and what is the etiquette around that? I mean, obviously it's not shrewd because it's going to make people fucked off, but you know, I suppose if you're in a particular locality, like my brother reckons that he was in the 80s, he was walking outside St James's Park at QPR Newcastle at St James's Park, and they'd gone up on coaches, and there was some sort of alley they were walking down afterwards back to coaches, and these Geordies were trying to get at them, and they were chucking stuff at them, and there was a police cordon, and one Geordie came up really close and lobbed a brick at my brother's mate, and it gashed his head open, and the bloke didn't even run, he just stood there behind the police. So my brother said that he went, "Oi, that geezer there," and pointing right at him, he just fucking threw a brick in my mate's head, look. And he reckons that the Geordie policeman said, "Sirs, you're right, you cockney cunt."
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, it doesn't. I'm not going to say it's a good thing, but obviously the policeman is a Geordie, the fans are Geordies. Of course, the policemen in Newcastle are going to support Newcastle because it's only got one club, and it was the 80s, different times, and so he's like, "Well, you shouldn't come to our city.
You shouldn't come here.
You shouldn't come here, should you? If you don't want a brick in your head."
If the tables were turned and it was, you know, a West Ham fan throwing a brick at a Geordie,
no, that
outside.
No, the Met are awful and should be disbanded, but they're a different breed of cunt, and you don't get the same tribalism in London with the old bill. They wouldn't go, "Serves you right, you Geordie cunt." They'd be doing something else. They'd go, "Have you seen any black people around that we can harass?"
Yeah, I mean, they did come up and join in during the miners' strike as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Metropolitan Police are just are awful, but there's not the same because there's so many clubs in London. I don't think you never see a partisan Met officer. The worst police for sure at the football I've ever experienced, and it's not a one-off, it's repeated because I've been there lots of times with more than one club, is the West Midlands Police, who, as you'll recall, history fans, do have a bit of a record for being dodgy, like bagging up random Irish people. And yeah, the police at Villa are fucking mad. If you ever go to Villa Park, like you can get nicked or thrown out just for standing up and shouting something like, "Ref, fuck's sake, ref, right, you're out. Come, you're out, right, batter him." They just fucking move. They are no fucking nonsense in Birmingham, mate. Unbelievable. No batter him. We've warned him once.
Fucking
he stood up. There's no standing up here now. You're not in London now. You're in Brum, and you're going to get battered, you cockney bastard.
Jalapeño.
If aliens came down to planet Earth and just isolated football, the entirety of football, and looked at it, they just think it's all deranged.
What the fuck's this?
All of
nonsense?
It for so many different reasons, so many aspects of football is just fucking ludicrous. But we love it so. And we're watching Melchester here.
When it's good, it's great. And I'll be watching Man City versus Real Madrid tonight because that is. Would you say that prospect is a sumptuous one, Andy? I'm channeling John Fashanu in that Footballers Come Dine With Me episode.
I don't know. I'm probably going to watch Middlesbrough Coventry in the Championship playoff semi-final.
It might be a bit too painful for you to watch the other one.
I'm all right. You know, we overachieved massively this season, so to even get into the playoffs was ludicrous. But
yeah, a good adventure.
I'd like to see Atletico Minter's Bob Mortimer get to the final.
Yeah,
and hopefully back to Luton. So I'll probably watch that. I might just flip between the two. I don't know. But two matches on at the same time, that's nice. It's a nice option to have. But anyway, Melchester, yeah. So on the front page, who else is that? That looks like Rob Richards as well, who's carrying the base of the FA Cup. Hey, Rob, you can carry the base. Don't fucking lose it. Don't smash it. Neville Jones is there. And then on the back page, it continues, a procession of Melchester players. And the fans are singing, "We won the cup. We won the cup. E-I-I-D-O. We won the cup." Has that ever been sung by fans at a football match?
It should be. I like it. It reminds me a little bit of
What was
Dexys when they went through their sort of Celtic folk period. It's a bit Come On Eileen, isn't it? Two-Rai.
Yeah.
In fact, wasn't the album called Two-Rai?
Two-Rai is the album, yeah.
Yeah.
Two-Rai, we won the cup. Well, is this like it's the farmer's in his den, wasn't it? Was that the original nursery rhyme?
Yeah.
The farmer's in his den.
The farmer's in his den. The farmer's in his den.
Don't know the rest of it. It's just the Iadio, the farmer's in his den.
Isn't it in Goodfellas?
The farmer takes a wife. Farmer takes a wife.
I'm sure there's a scene in Goodfellas. If it's not Goodfellas, it's another sort of Italian-American gangster movie where there's a wedding and they're all singing to that tune a description of what's happening. So they go, the bride is in her dress, the bride is in her dress. And then they're going, the husband kisses the bride. The husband kisses the bride. The bride does a dance. The bride. I'm pretty sure I haven't dreamt that. So I don't know if that's a tradition amongst the mafia community.
Do they sing Iadio as well?
Yeah, but it's weird that they would choose that. Did it. And of course, in The Wire, it's the tune that what's his name, Omar, the gangster robber, whistles to announce his arrival on the scene. He'll always be whistling.
Yeah.
Which, to me, if you're a robber, it seems strange to have a signature theme tune that you announce yourself with, because you should be trying to be covert, shouldn't you?
You'd think so. Yeah, so it's embedded then in crime culture. And there's also some singing going on. Rovers! Rovers! Goalkeeper Walter Williams, who has overcome his nerves and shyness, which of course is a curse.
It is a curse.
He's wearing the lid of the FA Cup on his head like a hat. Perhaps he's drunk by now, I don't know. But there they are. And then we go. So it's just 2 pages inside this week.
But Andy,
that's fine because
when you win a cup, I mean, all I've really seen. Well, I saw us win the Intertoto Cup, and that was a bit of a blur. I was in Metz and. I don't know. I can't quite remember what we did, but I've seen us win playoff finals, which is pretty exciting because it's a big thing to win a playoff final. But if we ever West Ham probably won't, but could win the Conference League, which to us would be a big deal because we haven't really won a proper trophy in most of my life, and I don't think I'll be there because it's in Prague and it's a 20,000 seater, but. Do you ever?
It's ridiculous.
I know, it's madness. Do you ever wonder? I mean, you can't tempt fate, but Sunderland have been to at least one cup final in recent. Well, I say in recent times, in 1992, which in my mind is quite recent.
Yeah.
Have they been to another one since then?
We've got to the Carling Cup in 2014, got beat off Man City.
Right. Yeah. Do you ever imagine what you? Personally, not the fans as a whole, but what you, Andy Dawson, will do or would do should Sunderland win the cup?
Fuck.
It's hard to know, isn't it?
You just don't know. I mean, we kind of got a bit of a glimpse of that when we won the League One playoff final at Wembley last year, because there was a cup involved in that. You do get a cup and there is a kind of a lap of honour afterwards. But I can't remember what we did at the end. It was probably just fucking elation.
It's elation. But if it's like I say,
shouting.
I've seen us win the playoff final a couple of times, and that's great. But there's something about, say, a trophy, like an FA Cup, League Cup, a European trophy. I've never seen it happen. I was 5 when we won the FA Cup. It's like, I don't know what I'd do. I'm not suggesting that I'd do something insane. But I just don't know. I don't know. You never know what's inside you until the moment arrives. The reckoning arrives.
Pitch, you think?
Huh?
You think you might invade the pitch?
Oh, yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, I would. Will. But I'm just wondering whether I might, I don't know, throw myself off a building in the spirit of, well, it's never going to get better than this or something like that.
Let's hope you don't do that.
No, I think that's unlikely.
That feels extreme. Well, you're going to scale the exterior of Wembley.
We've beaten Basel in the Conference League final. This is the greatest moment of my life. I'm checking out. GTFN dickheads. He died.
Was some kind of self-styled. He was some kind of self-styled mental health expert, apparently.
He died because he loved the European Conference League so much.
Oh God. Anyway, oh man, we're almost at the end of the fucking episode. We haven't looked at what's going on in the meat of the story. I always feel as though we shouldn't bother now and just do two next. And let's do it. The FA Cup final between Melchester Rovers and Walford had been one of the toughest and closest finals in history. Only a last-minute goal by Neville Jones had separated the two sides. Of course, Neville Jones rattled it in off the crossbar right at the end. No one had battled harder than Joe Bellamy, the Walford captain and club cunt, and also Roy's bitter rival. They're all standing there, Walford, watching Rovers doing their lap of honour. One of Walford's players says to Joe, "Race wanted us to go on the lap of honour with them, didn't he, Joe?" Joe Bellamy, of course, Roy Race did. That was the massive power play at the end of the last issue. Come on the lap of honour with us, Joe." He said, it was decent of him, but it's Melchester's moment of glory. Let them enjoy it while they've got a chance. We'll be back next year. And that's addressing their own fans there. Walford, good old Joe. I sincerely hope Walford get relegated next season. I suspect they will do. Later, after the Rovers had escaped from their ecstatic fans, in a state of ecstasy.
They got. They look like we did when your fucking cousin gave them those tablets last summer when he invited us to that party in a field. I can't see it taking off, but I tell you what, fucking hell, I've never felt like that before in my life, and I hope I never do again.
What have they got Mitsubishi on for? What's that about? What's that? What's the connection there? Does it make you want to drive? I don't know.
He gave them me, Blackie's cousin, and I thought to myself, well, in for a penny, in for a pound. I haven't got pre-season training for a few weeks. Let's see what happens. Fucking hell, my mouth were dry, my eyes were like saucers. I couldn't stop fucking dancing. It was bizarre.
Cuddling everyone.
I was hugging Blackie. Blackie tried to fucking kiss me. Luckily, I had just enough sanity left in me to push him away. But no, it was a strange experience.
Blackie came up from behind, wrapped his arms around me, lifted me up in the air, threw me down on the ground, started tickling me. It were amazing.
And I wanted to say
wrong,
stop,
but also right.
I could not stop laughing. I was laughing and laughing and laughing. And I didn't want to be, but I just did. I might just encourage Blackie to keep doing it. He kept saying, "Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy?" and robbing me tummy. And then I was howling. I was going, "I'm a good boy. Roy's a good boy." And he was going, "That's right. You are a good boy." And he just went on and on. In the end, everyone was gathered around watching. And then I started asking him for sausages. And then he went on for an hour and a half. I thought he'd disappeared. He came back with sausages on me, and I ate the lot. Raw.
He cooked them and everything.
It was a fucking... It was some day, I tell you.
Later, after the Rovers had escaped from their ecstatic fans, Roy's been interviewed by a TV interviewer. "And I'd like to pay tribute to the players and fans of Walford. If I had my way, we would have shared this cup." Oh, God, he's on the ecstasy again. Fuck.
Why not? Why can't we just share things in this life?
Why couldn't both teams just play in the same kit and maybe play without a ball? I don't know. It's something to think about, isn't it? Maybe football's all wrong. "That's generous of you, Roy," says the presenter. "But I'm sure even Walford fans would like another look at the winning goal." I'm sure Walford fans wouldn't like another look at the winning goal, actually, mate. Care to talk us through it, Neville?
No.
Neville's there. Yeah, it speaks for itself. Neville's got a bobble hat on. Sure. And we see him hitting it in off the crossbar. "Wahoo! Get in there!" That's him talking us through it. "Ha ha ha ha!" shouts someone else. And then the interview continues, and there's Melchester players in the background larking around, and one of them's pulled his bobble hat down over his face. It could be Vic Guthrie. It's probably Noel Baxter, to be quite honest.
Yeah, sounds like his sort of fucking vibes.
Cunt. Roy, it's been a long, hard and controversial season for you. You and your players must be looking forward to a complete break from football. A holiday in the sun. Roy says, holiday? You must be joking. We're going after another trophy now. The Brit Air Indoor Six-a-Side Soccer Championship, starting next Wednesday.
Whoa! Plot twist!
For that.
Plot twist! He often does this at the end of a season. He often announces all of a sudden a massive elaborate plan that's already been totally sorted that we haven't heard about. That's obviously been going on in the background, and he always announces it in one of those special things where he's looking straight into the camera.
Yeah,
at the reader.
We're going to a tournament in Crete.
I've organised a rugby tournament against some men in New Zealand. It's for charity, but there's a high chance one of us might die. Tune in next week, readers.
Of course, it was the cricket match, wasn't it, a couple of seasons ago?
It's always, and then in the 70s one, there's a great thing where he goes to America to play for a team in the MLS for a whole summer, and he discovers he has his eyes open to loads of innovations which actually do come true, like VAR. And this is in 70s, And
wow.
And then another one, he goes off. It's always some ex-player who's gone off abroad. When I retired, I moved away and started trying to get work abroad. So that was why he went to America. And another one moves to the Middle East and says, Roy, can you come over and do a charity game for this league I've got started in the Middle East? And he goes over there and he gets kidnapped. Obviously, as soon as he fucking gets there, he's kidnapped and held to ransom.
You must be my kidnapper. Yes, I am.
Arab,
please get in this car.
Like I said, Scarf, I assume you're here to kidnap me. Correct. I had a strong feeling this would happen. That's why I brought these cyanide pills that I got off Blackie's cousin. First time you tried to start getting me to grass up Her Majesty the Queen, bang, I'm popping this in and saying TTFN. Check
it out.
It's been a hell of a ride, but it's time for old Roy to fucking go to the other side.
I'm jumping off the top of the metaphorical building because we've won the cup. But the six-a-side tournament, though, used to be an absolute highlight in the 80s.
Yeah.
Because it used to be on Sports Night.
First team players in your six-a-side team. It was great.
Yeah.
Andy, is any of that on YouTube?
You know what? I'm not sure. I looked ages ago and it kind of wasn't, but maybe it has been added because YouTube can be updated at any time.
In real time.
It was called Soccer 6, wasn't it?
Yeah. But I think there must have been another one because there was one called the Evening Standard Soccer 6. Maybe that was different.
Oh, yes, there is some. 1986 final day highlights. 1990, God, went on that far. Birmingham City versus Ipswich Town
in the final.
The Atari Soccer 6.
We should deep dive it.
Atari.
We should deep dive the entire tournament because so many funny things happen. Do you know what I mean? There's all little fights and stuff like that, isn't there?
Yeah. They've only got snatches of it. They haven't got the full tournament, but we'll have a look and see if we can do something.
Bring back Soccer
but
fucking
it was
6.
Massive.
Although don't, because fucking City would win that as well and it would just be pointless.
Well, they did. They brought back the Masters, didn't they, a few years ago, which was kind of their attempt to bring it back. But it was all ex-retired players and shit like that, so not as good.
No, to have
watching actual first-team players doing six-a-side was brilliant.
Yeah.
1 hour and 1 minute of Soccer 6 1986, introduced by Steve Ryder. Oh, that could be watchable.
Steve Ryder.
That could be watchable.
Hey, Steve Ryder bought me half a lager once.
Did he?
Yeah, I might.
Is that all you wanted?
I think I was there to work at BBC. It was the day where I went behind the scenes at Match of the Day, but we went into the club and with the press guy, and we were just waiting for someone or something, and Steve Ryder sauntered in and went, hi, and he was a right smoothie. Oh, hi. And I got introduced, and he said, I'm about to have a beer. Can I interest you in one? And I was quite young and there to work, so I went, I'll have half a lager, please, Steve Ryder. And he went, fine. He looked me up and down a bit and said, weird guy.
You don't want a pint?
Got himself and the other guy a pint, and I was there. I was like a callow youth nursing my half a skull.
What's the matter? You're driving? You can have a pint and still drive, you know.
What's the matter? Are you ill? Are you dying?
Tablets? I'll tell you what, we'll leave it there. Because it's going to take forever. We'll leave it just on the brink of the Soccer 6 tournament. It might mean that next time we go Soccer 6 and beyond into the following issue, there's an excellent one coming up in a couple of weeks. I've just been looking ahead, where Roy delves into the world of video assessment of another footballer.
I can't wait for this.
Well, that's all I'm going to tell you for now. We'll be back next time with more of this, whatever it is. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.
Goodbye.